In this video, we continue learning about procurement, but we highlight the 9 steps in the procurement process. Are you ready? Let's learn logistics. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Professor Rodriguez. I'm a college instructor, supply chain executive, and the founder of the MVC Logistics Academy, a place where you can find supply chain education, news, career development, and much more. In today's video, we will learn the 9 steps in the procurement process. Now, if you have been watching our channel, or even our last video, that was all about procurement. We talked about the definition of procurement, how it works, and what are the types of procurement. I will link them in the description below if you want to check it out. As you can imagine, the procurement process generally involves a number of steps. The business identifies particular goods or the services it needs. We go on to source the supplies that will help the company reach its objectives. We negotiate terms and costs, and then we make the purchases, and then later on receive the relevant items that we purchase. A small company may have just one person handling procurement of all its goods and services. Larger companies may have a team of people that are specialized in dealing with different suppliers or supporting specific internal business groups. For more items, the team may need to gather input from several different business groups in order to determine the company's overall. It is important to remember that procurement doesn't consist of a series of isolated acts. It is really an ongoing, ever-evolving process. Companies generally aim to establish relationships with key suppliers to help obtain the best service or goods at the lowest possible cost, which ultimately translates into higher profit margins for the company. This is called strategic sourcing. Keep this in mind. Companies may also need to conduct regular quality assurance checks and even performance analysis to make sure that suppliers meet the expectations we set up. We call this total quality management. We will discuss these topics in more detail in future videos, but it's important you know what they mean now. Okay, so let's get into the main topic, the 9 steps in the procurement process. Please keep in mind that procurement processes vary greatly depending on the company and the structure and the needs of the company, but they generally include the following 9 key steps. Step number 1, identify which goods and services the company needs. It makes total sense, right? We have to first identify the requirements for a specific item or service our company needs. This may be a new item that the company hasn't had or hasn't previously purchased before. It could be a restock of existing goods or even a subscription renewal. Step number 1 typically involves diving into the nitty-gritty details of what the business needs. This could be things such as the precise technical specifications, materials, part numbers, or the service characteristics the company will need. At this early stage, it is a good idea to consult all business departments that are affected by the purchasing decisions. This is done so you can ensure that the procured items are accurately reflecting the needs of each of the departments. Step number 2, submit purchase requests. When an employee or a business group needs to procure a significant quantity of new supplies or services, they have to make a formal purchase request, also known as a purchase requisition. A purchase request or requisition notifies the company that a need exists. Usually this is done by the department managers, the purchasing staff, or the financial team. A purchase requisition also lists specific things such as the price, the time frame needed, the quantity, and other important items for the purchasing team to keep in mind. The department overseeing the purchase can then approve or deny the purchase request. If approved, the procurement team can proceed with selecting a vendor and making the purchase. Step 3, assess and select vendors. With a clear list of requirements and an approved purchase requisition, now is the time to find the best vendor and submit a request for quote, or an RFQ. This is what the purchasing team sends to potential suppliers in order to receive a quote. It is important to be as detailed as possible in these RFQs so you could compare similar information from different vendors. Step number 4, negotiate price and terms. A common best practice is to get at least 3 quotes from suppliers before making a decision. you examine each quote carefully and negotiate where possible. Once you've negotiated, if you're not happy with the negotiation of the result and you need to walk away from a deal, be sure that you have an alternate solution or an alternate supplier before you do so. Step number 5, create a purchase order. Fill out a purchase order or a PO and send it to the supplier. A purchase order should be sufficiently detailed to identify the exact services or goods needed and to enable the supplier to fill that order. The purchase order will have specific information such as the items, the descriptions, the quantities, and everything else that the supplier needs to know in order to send you that order. Step number 6, receive and inspect the delivered goods. Once you receive the shipment, you have to carefully examine delivery for any errors or damage. You also have to make sure that everything is delivered as specified on the purchase order and that the quantity and quality meet and exceeds the expectations. Step number 7, conduct a 3-way matching. Accounts payable should conduct what is known as a 3-way matching by comparing the purchase order, the order receipt or packing list, and the invoice. The goal is to ensure that the goods or services received match the purchase order and to prevent payment for unauthorized or inaccurate invoices. This is to highlight any discrepancies between the 3 documents and resolve issues before making payment. Step number 8, approve the invoice and arrange payment. If the 3-way match is accurate, approve and pay the invoice. Businesses should strive to have a consistent invoice payment process through accounts payable that checks that payments match the invoice amounts and the due dates. A standardized process can help make sure invoices are always paid on time, which can prevent late fees and build good relationships with those trusting suppliers. Step 9, record keeping. It is important to maintain records for the entire procurement process. I can't say that enough. It is very important to maintain clear records of everything that goes on in the procurement process. That's from purchase requests to price negotiations to invoices, receipts, and everything in between. These records may be useful for multiple reasons. They help the company reorder goods at the right price in the future, as well as assist with auditing process and calculating taxes. Clear and accurate records can also help resolve any potential disputes you might have with suppliers. Procurement lifecycle. Organizations commonly think of the steps in the procurement process as a life cycle. This perspective provides a reminder that all tasks and stages in the procurement process overlap and rely on each other, and the process is continuous. Our carefully thought out procurement life cycle also recognizes the integration between the process and the business as a whole, including the need to align with existing company rules and procedures covering areas such as budgeting. The process is not always linear, and sometimes adjustments need to be made to account for a dynamic digital supply chain with shifting suppliers, availabilities, and costs. There you have it. These are the 9 steps in the procurement process, which is a question I get asked often in class and which helps students build a stronger understanding of procurement and supply chain management. Thank you for watching. Feel free to give us a like or subscribe to our channel for more videos like these. I'm Professor Rodriguez, and until next time.